as a leader, you're going to make hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of decisions. You're going to make some wrong decisions, even when you're making decisions that align. You're going to make some decisions like that align with your integrity, your values, your morals, your ethics, your beliefs, your you know what I'm saying, all that, your strengths, all that stuff. Some of them are going to be wrong, and that's okay. That's fine. Learn from those lessons, do some quick reflection, learn from those lessons, and then move on and continue to do what leaders do. And that's lead and make decisions humbly, thoughtfully, decisively in some cases, right? And so, boldly. EQ gangsters, just wanted to share some of the lessons I got from my coaching sessions today. I had, back-to-back coaching sessions today, and it was awesome. Mentally and emotionally exhausting, but at the same time invigorating, seeing the differences in these leaders' lives as coaching is a tool and resource in their lives that they're harnessing and leveraging to maximize and optimize their own performance and potential. And it is so humbling to be a part of so many leaders' journeys, and so exciting too. It's just a tremendous blessing. One of the clients today, I'm going to call him Mac, he's hungry. He's a tremendous leader. He's very, very high up in the company, and he said, he listens to my podcast, and one of the episodes that really resonated with him was one of my recent episodes about how I kind of feel a little bit of imposter syndrome being a newly promoted purple belt in jiu-jitsu. And then one of my other buddies, it kind of all there's multiple kind of lessons to this. And so one of my jiu-jitsu coaches, a guy named John, who I talk about, who I mentioned multiple times in the different lessons that I'm learning through jiu-jitsu emotionally and as a leader. And I recently had told him, or asked him some questions about, jiu-jitsu and some protocol and that kind of thing, and kind of how I was feeling about this new promotion that I got. And he said he kind of experienced a similar dynamic when he got promoted to purple belt, and something clicked for me. And I shared it with this senior executive that I was coaching, because, he has gotten a recent promotion in his corporate career, and very well deserved also from, in my opinion, very, very well deserved for many reasons. He's a phenomenal leader. He's got tremendous amount of experience, and he is very much on his own very intentional personal and professional development program, which I just respect so much. A leader who's not growing themselves is just not, for me personally, not my type of leader. I value, appreciate, and respect leaders that are on a very intentional personal growth program themselves. And so when I shared this lesson that I got from my buddy John Roy, again, one of my coaches who's really helped me out the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years now, with my own jiu-jitsu journey, and that he helped me make with this my recent promotion to purple belt resonated also with this executive, which was, as a blue belt, and this is no knock to any other blue belts or whatever, this is just my own personal journey and personal experience. When I got, so as a blue belt, I kind of felt like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu teenager, where, as a blue belt, you can kind of fly under the radar a little bit because you're it's a great rank. You're learning a lot of stuff. I mean, that's kind of really a learning rank, and you're not expected to know a whole bunch per se. You're supposed to be learning primarily and growing primarily, but you're not really expected to have a tremendous amount of technique or anything like that. And I felt great at that level. I was, again, performing pretty well. I could beat, most blue belts. I could even, I held my own and even performed very well against a number of purple belts and even some brown belts and even some black belts that I could tap and or at a minimum control position wise if I was able to get in particular positions and stuff. And again, very comfortable defensively against anybody. That, didn't matter. Black belts, brown belt, it didn't matter. But when I got the purple belt, it felt like, for me, again, this is just my own personal journey, it felt like that was my first adult belt level. Like, oh snap, I have to start adulting in my BJJ, professional career or whatever, my journey. And now I just, in my own head, that was like, oh snap, that's like the first adult belt level. Again, this is my own journey. I know there's kids belts and adult belts, and so that's not what I'm talking about. Just emotionally and mentally, it just felt like purple belt was the first adult belt level. And so what I was trying to communicate with this executive today, he kind of felt the same way with where he was at. Let's say a good 3 IC or a good 2 IC, third in command, second in command, those are kind of military terms. But then when he got promoted to like a 1 IC, there was a lot of different aspects. And what he and I have a lot of in common, so I was able to share a lot from my background, because I'm quite a bit older than this guy. I said, when I was so that was my jiu-jitsu kind of analogy. But then from my business journey, for the majority of my business career, I was a people pleaser addict. And so I would always seek out external motivation and external affirmation and validation. So, and even in my, kind of in my blue belt journey too, I would subconsciously, not even consciously, but subconsciously seek out attaboys and oh man, good move, or way to do this move, or hey man, good pressure, or good position, or whatever. I'd kind of subconsciously seek that out. Same thing in my business career as a people pleaser addict. I'd always seek out this external validation and affirmation. And as soon as I started to get healthier emotionally, I started to notice a transition from an external, let's say locus of control is a term I've heard before and read about, from an external place where I'd seek that external validation and approval. And as I got healthier emotionally, I started to transition to an internal locus of control, or an internal validation and approval from me and from God. Like, okay, God, because man, before I would always, again, I was so big into collaboration, and from a leadership perspective, oh man, that's great. He's a collaborator, and maybe a look kind of good here and there. But I didn't realize why I was such a collaborator is because I was, again, I was being Gilligan. I was the ultimate Gilligan, the real life, modern day corporate business Gilligan. And for you young folks that are watching this, that's an old school TV show called Gilligan's Island. And he was the ultimate kind of people pleaser and never had his own ideas, never had his own opinions. I was scared to have my own opinions because I didn't want to upset anybody, hurt anyone's feelings, turn anybody off, because I wanted to get liked by everybody, not just respected by everybody. I want to get liked by everybody. Well, I don't know if the famous quote, to lead the orchestra, the conductor has to turn his back on the crowd. To lead the orchestra, the conductor has to turn his back on the crowd. And as a people pleaser addict, man, are you kidding me? I would try to lead standing sideways. From part of me's looking at the crowd, and then I turn back around looking at the orchestra, then look back at the crowd, then look back at the orchestra, constantly not wanting to upset either one. Well, you can't lead a chorus, orchestra doing that. So, and I've tried for decades, and that's not an effective way to lead. And so as I got healthier emotionally, I would really genuinely that transition happened where I started to, when I started to become aware of like, well, what is my opinion, and what do I want, and what are my desires, and what are my strengths, and what do I think about this, versus, oh, well, I got to get what does my wife think, or what does this person think, or that person think, right? And I would just always get everyone else's opinions, and I would frame it, of course, in the churches, and it's actually biblical, right? The counsel of many advisors is wise, and that's how I would that was my covert people pleaser verse that I would kind of take out of context to justify me not having my own opinion and my own thought and my own stance and my own voice, because, well, look, I'm wise because I'm getting the counsel of others, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think it's wise to seek the counsel of many advisors, but not at the expense of figuring out what do you think as the leader? What do you think as that business owner, that entrepreneur? What do you think in that leadership seat and role that you're playing? Don't hide behind some of those platitudes, or in this case, a Bible verse, and not have your own opinion, your own voice, your own thoughts. So as I started to slowly discover my own voice, what would happen is, I would slowly start to turn my back on the crowd as I was getting healthier from my people-pleasing addiction. And every time I would make a decision that aligned with my values and who I am in Christ, and who I am as a leader and as a person, with my strengths and my opinions and my values, it felt great. It felt great when I made a decision that aligned with who I am, and it felt, so I got that dopamine release, right? I got that hit, like, oh no, this feels good. Like, man, I like this, like, and I started to, and I valued that more, and of course praying and seeking God's direction and insights and stuff, and if I didn't, feel that God was leading me in any particular direction, it's like, okay, well, because I'd feel him sometimes like, dude, what do you think as a leader? What do you want as a leader? What do you value as a leader? What do you appreciate as a leader? Then I would make a decision, and it's like, oh snap, okay, like, and it aligned with my values and aligned with my strengths and aligned with, And that's the thing too, is the more, that's why self-awareness and emotional intelligence is so important, because the more self-aware you are, the more self-aware this executive has become through us, doing EQ exercises and talking about emotional intelligence and, being accountable and all these different things. And once he, kind of discovered his strengths, he was able to look back like, oh snap, look, I can see now through some reflection and some self-awareness, I've got 6 months of me applying this particular strength. Oh man, I can look back in my life and I can see this particular, like woo, for me, woo is winning others over. It's from StrengthsFinder 2.0, another great book I use all the time. Man, I can see a lifetime of me using woo and positivity. Of course, that was a weakness of mine because it was toxic positivity, because I was so emotionally needy. My emotional neediness turns many of my strengths into weaknesses. And so, but he could look back and see his different strengths at play in his life, which also helped him identify and discover his voice in this new role, this new position as the one I see. He was like, oh snap, man, I do have a voice. I do have my own thoughts and strengths and stuff. Because the other thing too is the other thing was happening was he would compare himself to some of the other leaders in the organization, and so he would compare himself, and what would happen is when he would compare himself, of course it would make his voice almost turn into a whisper, and which is not good for a leader, right? Is for your voice to be a whisper. You want it to be a controlled roar, a humble roar, with confidence and boldness. You want to show up to the world with confidence and boldness, not in weakness. You want it meekness, which is controlled strength. This is a great one. One of the tattoos on my hand, for those of y'all watching the YouTube channel, 2 Timothy 1, 6, and 7, for we have not been given a spirit of timidity or fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. And so am I showing up boldly, humbly with my strengths, and so as you are on your own emotional healing journey and emotional growth journey, look back and see your strengths at play, identify those strengths, identify your core values, and look at in your life those times, those milestones when you have made decisions that have aligned the most with your core values, your strengths, who you are. Make a list of those so you can what decisions have you made that have felt good, not just like led to good results, but felt good. Because there's been some times where, as a leader, you're going to make hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of decisions. You're going to make some wrong decisions, even when you're making decisions that align. You're going to make some decisions like that align with your integrity, your values, your morals, your ethics, your beliefs, your all that, your strengths, all that stuff. Some of them are going to be wrong, and that's okay. That's fine. Learn from those lessons, do some quick reflection, learn from those lessons, and then move on and continue to do what leaders do. And that's lead and make decisions humbly, thoughtfully, decisively in some cases, right? And so, boldly. And so, that was just a huge, some really big lessons from this phenomenal leader that kind of both, he had some, I had some. It just, Proverbs 27:17 is iron sharpens iron. One leader was sharpening another. I was definitely getting Ginsu knifed today by this leader, and it was excellent. So I wanted to share some of those lessons from that one session. And I've got I did, again, it's probably 6 coaching sessions today, and every single session I do, coaching session, I'm getting fire from. I'm getting lessons. I'm learning. I'm growing, and it's just so exciting. I love it, and so I want to just share those particular lessons with you all today. And again, super thankful for our sponsors, Classical Conversations. If you want skinny on homeschooling, which y'all, I'm telling you, man, please, with the direction that things are going in our country and in the world and in our education system, please check out homeschooling. You can do it. I'm telling you, you can homeschool. Trust me when I tell you. I have met thousands and thousands of families and stuff that all right, there's no way I can homeschool, that are not homeschooling. You can do it. There is support out there. classicalconversations.com/Gibbons, Gibbens, classicalconversations.com/Gibbons, that can help you out with that kind of skinny. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey and vice versa. Would love it. It'd mean a lot if you wouldn't mind just leaving a 15-second, 20-second rating and review on the podcast platform that you're listening on. It would really mean a lot. Thank you for those y'all are watching on YouTube. If there's a particular episode that's really resonating, please share it with a friend or a colleague or a coworker or a family member. And thank you for all the support, encouragement, and growth that you all are doing, that you all have shared with me.